This is Silverado 25 HD, and I'm gonna tell you the situation with this truck right here. All right. All right, this vehicle the transmission was rebuilt or so fixed at a different repair shop. And long story short, the owner hit the bumper and made the bumper damage the transmission line and transmission cooler. So the other shop said that they had to change the bumper and the radiator. So he came here, and I told him what he had to do was just pull the bumper out just a bit, and then we could install an aftermarket cooler on here, which we do this all the time, put aftermarket coolers and bypass the radiator. We do it on this is a 6L80 or 6L90. We do it all the time with no issue. Well, according to the owner, when he did damage and it was leaking, he took it back to the place and they gave him transmission fluid to keep it in. So after we actually fixed the leak and put a cooler on, and we put the cooler right there in front of the radiator, right where the fan, right in front of the fan. When they lifted it up, they made some notes, and the notes they said was that the transmission had been driving about 4,000 miles before it got fixed by us. So it could have damaged the transmission. The trans is slipping in 5th gear now. So before it got fixed, it could have got damaged because of lack of fluid. Perhaps the owner kept it low. Number two, they said that we put in a transmission cooler and it is causing the flow not to be sufficient. So it's insufficient coolant. That's what they said. Insufficiently being cooled. So if it's insufficiently being cooled, I have to determine what they mean by that, because his transmission was under warranty, so they don't want the warranty. They denied the warranty. So they have two things they tried to blame the transmission failure on. One, the transmission is being insufficiently cooled, and number two, he drove it enough to damage it with the coolant leak, or excuse me, with the transmission fluid leak. So that would mean that they have to pick one of the two, and the customer came down to us because they mentioned about the cooler that we put on was insufficient. Okay, so what I'm doing here is, we've had this running for about 20 minutes. We drove it first all around, and the temperature is up to, engine cooling temperature is 110. Okay, so it's in the middle, and I'm checking the transmission temperature. The transmission temperature is at 120. All right, now for this 6L80 or 90, it can go to 200 according to ATSG, and it will be okay. In cooler climates, it will be lower, but normally just running, not pulling anything, you may be in the 190s. So right now we see that the transmission fluid temperature is 111.20, okay, and the engine coolant temperature is 195. All right, there is no codes in here, but I'm gonna take it for a ride again. Take this for a ride again, see how hot I can get this transmission, since they say it's insufficiently cooling. Right now it's within the parameters, so it's slipping though. Now, what I'm guessing is the other transmission shop in there trying to blame or get out of the warranty, that they're trying to find two ways in order to blame the transmission. That is the cooler, or they're going to go with lack of fluid. Now, that could be the lack of fluid. But he came back to our shop simply because they said something about the cooler. So we're taking it for a drive right now. And it's slipping right now. That's slipping. Okay. Now, if it was not cooling properly, it should have had a transmission temperature code in there, but it don't have that. So again, I'm taking it around the block. This would be the third time, and I'm gonna see what the coolant temperature is going to be. Now, I would mind you, when they put this vehicle on the lift and they saw that we had put a cooler on to stop his leak that he had, they probably just looked at it and assumed that it was not getting proper coolant. And I believe that, it wasn't cooling properly. Whew, what's wrong with my talking today? They assumed that it wasn't cooling adequately. Why? Because when I spoke to the manager of that shop, he said it was his opinion. And we can't go with opinions, we gotta go with fact. You know, when a customer comes to a different shop based on an opinion of another shop, that opinion needs to be right. So let me keep on driving here, and I'm going to see what the transmission temperature is going to be. It was at 111. I told you we drove this. This is the third time we're driving this. I'm trying to get it as hot as I can and see what happens. I'm gonna look at it, but it definitely is running away. Now, I believe what possibly happened is the owner allowed it to run too low because it was a bad leak, and the other shop gave him transmission fluid in order to keep it topped off so that it didn't mess the transmission up. Oh, that was a bump. So it's slipping now. When it goes into around fifth gear, it starts slipping and doing all type of stuff. So I can't get on the freeway with this. I gotta just keep on driving it this way. Okay, let's see. It's reading, transmission fluid temperature is reading 127. Okay, we can see right there. Engine coolant is 192. Transmission fluid temperature is 127.4. I think what I better do is go forward. We keep on driving, and we're gonna see what happens. Hope we don't run out of gas, because a lot of the owners don't put gas in their vehicles. Look at that. Oh boy. Hope I don't run out. Alright, I'm still in this truck, and I'm going back to the shop, and I was only able to get it to around 140. I'm at a standstill, but I'm going to put some gas in here because I am going to drive this some more. I'm gonna let it keep running, Been driving it for a while, about at least half hour, and I got it to, what is it? Where is the temperature? 138. 138.2. That's the transmission fluid temperature. So far, still is not overheating. Now, according to the other shop, what we put in is giving insufficient cooling. So again, if the cooling is insufficient, it can get up to 200 and be okay. It's at 140 right now. So we got it here at the shop here. All right, folks, here is the paperwork for that Chevy there. I'm not going to show the name of the shop, but I want you to see what is going on. This was a transmission that was rebuilt, I guess, about a month ago, and the customer has come back more than once, but this time it had the leak. So as you read it, it tells you here, and you get a free preliminary inspection, has humming noise when driving at approximately 30 miles per hour, has already had cooler lines repaired. So they knew the cooler lines were leaking because of the bumper, and we're the ones that repaired them with a trans cooler. And it says client states the trans is acting up again. Vehicle feels like it's lagging when accelerating. Please check and advise. So you got the fourth gear slip, yes. Fifth gear is neutralized, yes. And as you saw, I was driving, I can only go so fast before it was slip. But here it says they lifted on a rack, yes. And here's what's important to note. The leak, let me see. They lifted on a rack to inspect transmission lines. Underbody in the right wheel well still saturated with the old fluid. That's what it was old there. But it says the leak when it left was severe enough to cause damage to the trans if continued to be driven that way. They're not sure when the lines were fixed, but 4,000 miles have been driven since they looked at the lines. Vehicle was run with an active transmission leak at cooler lines. It was. Customer advised on repairs. Stated he took to a transmission shop to repair the cooler. They installed an aftermarket cooler behind the radiator instead of repairing the lines to the cooler in the radiator, causing insufficient cooling of the transmission fluid, in addition to being run low on transmission fluid. So that made the customer come down to us because they're blaming the failed transmission on the cooler, which we saw it wasn't cooling inefficiently. Here it has, they have two things that they're trying to cover themselves with, and that is, if the fluid level was kept high enough, then they want to blame the aftermarket cooler. However, if the fluid level was low, then they have a way out to blame the customer and say you didn't keep the fluid level low, high enough. So they're trying to have two ways in which to get out of the warranty. But one of these ways are about to be eliminated, because if you say that the cooler is cooling inefficiently, there's a way to find that out. As you were seeing, I was driving and looking at the temperature gauge. And cooling, again, the transmission, the highest you might can go is 205, okay? Normally is around 190 something, but and in colder climates it can be lower than that. But as you saw, I had 138 or 140, so I'm going to continue driving this again. We already drove it around like 3 times for about half hour, but we're putting some gas in it now so that we can not run out of gas. I guarantee the other shop did not do what I'm doing. What they did is just took a guess. And the thing is, you can't take a guess and let the customer come down to another shop on a guess, because it will cause a problem. Okay, you have to know what you're talking about, because the person or somebody like me may just actually test out the guess theory, which is what I am actually doing. And then I'm gonna have to go down to that shop too and let them know. And there's another thing. So we can see the cooling here. It got ram air and it's directly in front of the fans. They say it's behind the fan. But there's something else I want you all to see. This was a journal that was written, air-cooled versus liquid-cooled transmission oil cooler for heavy-duty vehicles, okay? And the ones who did this study was the Society of Automotive Engineers, SAE. And here you can see, you can read it, writes, for vehicles equipped with air-cooled engines, nearly all the automatic transmission units are air-cooled. But I'll go down here and it says, for an automobile equipped with a liquid-cooled engine, the automatic transmission unit can be either air-cooled or liquid-cooled. Theoretical analysis of one liquid-cooled and air-cooled and two air-cooled transmission cooling schemes were carried out. It was found that the air-cooled scheme with the transmission oil cooler placed right behind the engine radiator. Okay, now what did they say? They said that we installed the aftermarket cooler behind the radiator. Okay, so here it says it was found that the air-cooled scheme with the transmission oil cooler placed right behind the engine radiator in the cooling airflow path. Well, it was placed behind the radiator. We placed it behind the radiator right in front of the fan. Okay, in the air cooling path is the most suitable for heavy-duty vehicles with the system size and the fan power requirements are considered as principal evaluation criteria. Computer simulation for the cooling system of a typical heavy-duty vehicle confirms this finding. So, this is the Society of Automotive Engineers, okay? And who are they? The SAE is a global association of more than 128 engineers and related technical experts in the aerospace, automotive, and commercial vehicle industry. So, again, this shop here is going to see me because I'm going down there to them, and I'm going to take this information so they can get this straight. Take this off. If you want to say that there was a problem with the transmission, either there was a defect with the transmission or the customer ran the coolant, ran the fluid too low. But do not blame aftermarket cooler. When we do this all the time, we put an aftermarket cooler on it all the time, okay? And what we ran was a Haynes cooler, okay? And the Haynes cooler, if you use a Haynes cooler, it tells you what to do. Okay, this is a Haynes cooler. So if you use a Hayden cooler, not Haynes, it tells you if you're going to choose a cooler. Let me see if I got one where you can see it better. Oh, that's not it. This is the Society of Automotive Engineers. I don't know if I got let's see here. Right here, this is written down. If for some reason you are not going to use the OE cooler, you should choose the transmission cooler that will be the most efficient and the largest that will fit the available space. Typically, that is a cooler that is 1 to 2 sizes larger than the recommended heavy-duty cooler. Okay? So if you're going to use an air-cooled cooler, you need to get a larger one. We put a 30,000 BTU cooler on there. Okay, and it's behind the radiator, right in front of the fan. Okay, and they said here, they installed an aftermarket cooler behind the radiator, and instead of repairing the lines to the cooler in the radiator, causing insufficient cooling of the transmission fluid. Okay, so we already see that that wasn't true. We debunked that. That's good, because again, you look on the scanner, you can see that it wasn't 190, it wasn't even 200, and we're going to still drive it again, and I know they didn't drive it that far. So again, if you're going to say something, if you're a shop, make sure you know what you're saying, because you can cause customers come down to another shop that can cause a problem. Make sure you know what you're saying, because there's going to be other shops that's going to test your theory. Okay? And I'm one that will. If something is wrong, I want to know what's wrong so I can put it right. Okay? So this is just an example here for you to see. And once again, if you want to put an aftermarket cooler on it, on these 6L 80s and 90s, we run them all the time. All the time. A big one. Okay? We run a big one all the time. The Hayden, we don't run that tube and fin style because that is insufficient. You don't want to run that one. You want to run the one that allows the fluid to stay up in there a little bit, where it can be cooled. And there's 3 types. The tube and fin is the least efficient. Okay, you want one that looks like this. I forget what style this is. I have to look this up. But you can look it up and they'll tell you the different styles. I think 3 of them. All right, we're back at the shop. Billy put some gas in this thing. And let's see what we got over here. Turn this back on, look at the temperature. He put gas in it, he drove it some more. Go to history, and this is the GM. The GM here. And diagnose. Try to get to the live data. Want to see what the temperature is on here. Yeah, we got some gas there now. The light is not out. Still got service airbag on this one. This thing is going through all these computers. I put this here. I don't know what radio that thing. Alright, this has a manual shift transfer case. Let's go back to this diagnosis and control unit, and we're going to the transmission module. And where are we going here to live data? Now this truck has not been cut off really, except for he went and put the gas in and then he went and drove it around. And where are we with the transmission? Engine coolant, transmission. Let's go with TCM temperature too. Let's stay on here. So here we go. The transmission temperature is at 149. Remember, it has to be 190 or below. So we're just sitting here and the fan is on. And now I'm gonna go for a ride. Go for a ride. I'm gonna see if this temperature go back down. You're gonna have fan and ram air and everything air. Now this vehicle has been really running for about half hour. I'm about to go ride again. All right. shows showing 149, 150. Okay, I'm gonna ride this for a while and then I'm gonna see what it get to after continue riding. Turn the camera off. Okay, I've been driving for about half hour in this truck, and I went on a freeway. I could only go a little under 40 miles an hour because it did slip. And so far, the highest it got was 159 transmission cooling temperature. Now, this is a park, Euclid Park. I am about to go up here. It's a nice big hill, or mountain, really. I'm gonna go up to the top of this hill. It's like two, it's slipping. I can't let it slip because it will burn the transmission fluid like that. I mean, it will heat it up. I don't want it to slip, so I am going to, I'm at 58. It went down to 58. I'm driving. So the highest I've seen was 59. I didn't see a 60 yet. I've been driving for half hour. This vehicle has been moving for a half hour, so again, it has to be 191, something like that is good. It's at 150 something, so I'm gonna keep on going. Going up this mountain. This is a steady climb, so it might get higher since it's steady climbing. Let me put these on because I can't go any faster. I can only go about 30 miles an hour, or it goes in another gear and it will slip. So it's a steady climb, a steady upward hill climb up this mountain. This is Euclid Creek Park here. Nice park. Come out here sometime to walk. You got people walking, you see, exercising, walking up the mountain there. Hope I don't run out of camera space before I get to the top of here. Temperature still look like 58, 50. And I'm steady going up the mountain. Still, it's cooling efficiently. I have yet to see any inefficient coolant flow, or why I keep saying coolant flow, inefficient cooling of the transmission. Still cooling. In fact, if you got something directly in front of a fan that's designed to pull air from, hot air from it, I don't know how in the world a person would say, oh, they built the bridge over there. Huh. Oh, I'm gonna have to walk this place again. Maybe I'll walk it tonight or this evening. Again, this is a steady climb up. There's parts that's steeper. This is about a 2 mile, because when you walk it, it's a 4 mile walk if you go all the way to the top and go back down. This is even a steeper part of the hill or mountain here. I got somebody on a bike here trying to think that they're a car. Isn't that amazing? As I get to that top up there, I am going to see what the temperature is on this transmission. Come on, let's get on up there. Still going up. Still going up. Green Road. East Green Road. Now I'm at the top. I need to see what this temperature is. Here's another. Okay. At the top of the hill. Wow, there's a car steady following me. I can't pull over. Alright, I just want to see what this temperature is. That is it. And are they going with me on here? Darn, let me go pull it to the side so he can go. Okay. Alright, so coming up that steady climb, temperature transmission fluid is 159.8. Alright. Engine coolant temperature is 195 degrees. And that's the TCM temperature is 170.6. So everything is operating temperature. So far the transmission is cooling fine. This transmission got to be repaired. Either the customer ran it low on fluid, or the transmission had a defect in it and they have to stand by their warranty. They probably don't want to stand by the warranty, but after half hour of driving, everything is fine. So I can't keep on driving. I know that the other shop didn't drive it like this to determine if there was insufficient cooling. No way, I know. So I'm about to head this back over to the shop, and then I'll see what their transmission shop has to say. Let me see where we at.